Hi, Lynn Watts again, and today I want to share with you another two books that you could use in lessons about kindness. And the first book is called Those Shoes. It's written by someone named Mary Beth Bolt, Boelts, Bolts. It's about a little boy named Jeremy who, like so many children, wants a certain pair of shoes. And apparently, many of the other boys in the school have exactly those shoes. He's quite envious of them and those shoes, but when he talks to his grandmother about them, she says they are way too expensive. And you don't need shoes right now, right? You just want shoes, which is an interesting distinction that you certainly could spend a little time talking about. So he continues wearing the shoes he has until one day at school they fall apart. And so he has to go to the counselor who has, I guess, a number of items that children can use, clothing, shoes, so on, who are in need of them. And he finds a pair of shoes that fit him. Unfortunately, when he wears them back to class, and he kind of knows this already, they are shoes that have, first of all, Velcro on them, and secondly, a cartoon character that, as he said, no one has ever even watched. So, of course, everyone laughs at his shoes, makes fun of them, but he doesn't have other shoes to wear. And so he continues wearing them until his grandmother says, well, I have put aside a little bit of money, so let's go see if we can buy you some shoes because now you do need some shoes. So they go to the shoe store. The shoes, again, that he really wants are extremely expensive. And she says, I can't possibly put this kind of money into shoes. So they decide to go to some thrift stores. And they go to a few and they eventually find exactly the right pair of shoes that he is wanting, that everyone else has. Unfortunately, they're a little bit small for him. They're not quite his right size. So his grandmother says, I can't put good money into shoes that don't really fit you, but he decides to use his own money and buys them for $2.50. And he wears them to school. And of course, he's very proud of them, but his toes are all scrunched up and he's very uncomfortable. So he continues wearing them for quite a few days, even though he's very uncomfortable. And one day at recess, he notices another boy who has some shoes that are falling apart. He has them taped together. And after much, much thought, he decides that he is going to gift these shoes to this boy who actually needs the shoes. So he leaves them, he doesn't tell him that they're from him. He leaves them at the door of the little boy's apartment. He finds the shoes. He is thrilled to get them and he begins wearing them to school. And Jeremy goes back to wearing his shoes that he has that fit, but that have the cartoon character and the Velcro on them. Um, what happens eventually, I'm going to let you find out by checking out the story. But there's a great ending, and it certainly has a wonderful moral about helping out someone else who is maybe less fortunate or actually has the same need as you do, and about the benefit of that, the good feeling that he gets from that. So, a great book, Those Shoes. Here's a second book, which is actually called The Kindness Quilt. And it is all about a class who's been asked by their teacher to work on a kindness project. So they each want to are assigned, I guess, to do something kind and then to draw a little picture of what they did. And the story actually begins with the Aesop's fable about the lion and the mouse, which you may already be familiar with, and how the mouse actually is able to help out lion, somebody that he never thought he would be able to help or save. So when the child comes home and tells their parents about this kindness project, they decide that they are going to continue doing this sort of kindness project at home. And they are uh, thinking about all the things that they do that would be considered kindness. For instance, going to a community cleanup day, um, taking some soup to neighbors, and so on and so on. So there's lots of good examples of lots of ways that um, someone could be kind. And then the characters in the book make these little drawings that you can see here, where they write how they were kind and draw a little picture of what they did. So what the teacher eventually does is makes a bulletin board and puts all of these uh, kindness pictures and notes together, and they come up with a kindness quilt. So I think it's pretty obvious. Here's the bulletin board right here. So I think it's pretty obvious what kind of activity you could follow up with after sharing this story. You could do much like the teacher did in the story, have children write or draw a picture on squares of paper, and then you could put them all together in either a bulletin board, or you could get a piece of butcher paper and tape them on that and make a quilt out of that. So the kindness quilt by Nancy Elizabeth Wallace. Another great book on kindness with a great activity to help children really learn the message about kindness. Thanks so much for listening.